Thank you very much for joining us today. Today we have Etta. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I love you, but I also we were supposed to see each other, not too long ago. And so this is a worthy replacement.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same, but I'll take it.
Right. In this time, this is kind of what we have to do. So Etta and I actually met when we both went to Turkey and we spent a summer there and it was great. And she lives you just moved. So are you still in New Jersey or are you in New York?
I'm in New Jersey. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I had potentially kind of at the beginning of all this, I assumed that we would be done with this, by the end of summer. And so I bought a cheap flight.
Silly of you. How could you ever assume something like that?
I know. I was a fool. I was hopeful. And so obviously I was wrong. So that trip ended up getting postponed to sometime eventually. TBA, TBD. And so it was obviously the right choice. So it wasn't that difficult, but it was very heartbreaking to reach out to everyone that I had reached out to be like, hey, I'm going to be there on these dates. I want to see you. And then to be like, I'm actually not coming. And yeah.
I get that. So the summer after we met, because we met the first time that I had gone.
Yeah, you went twice.
I went again, and I met these group of girls from London and became very close with them. And one of them, actually, we can talk about this craziness, but one of them was supposed to get married in April. It was the first week of April. April 5th was her wedding, or 4th. And so I was going to fly to London. I had taken time off work, and I was going to work from home a couple days, and and I worked it out so that I could stay there, for a full couple days. But her bachelorette party was in Spain 2 weeks before. And so I had a friend living in Spain. So I went there. I didn't want to just go for 2 days. I was like, that's silly. It's they're coming from London. For them, it's only a couple hours and it's cheaper. But for me, that's a longer thing.
Exactly.
It's a commitment. So, well.
Famous last words.
Exactly. Everything started to come out, and I kept checking, and I was asking people their opinions, and they were like, no, you should be fine. They're just telling you to wash your hands. Everything in Spain is okay. It's not in Barcelona anyway. It's only in Madrid, and they've shut the city down. So you should be fine. You should be fine. You should be fine. I was like, okay, if you say so. I went to work that Thursday, and my flight was Thursday night. My boss looked at me and was like, are you sure you want to do I had my luggage with me, and I was going to go on the train and go straight to the airport. Right. And we got out of a meeting, and he was like, oh, you're leaving today, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, my flight's in a couple hours. I'm going to head out early. And he was like, you're brave. You're brave. And I was like, do you know something I don't know? Because everyone keeps telling me it's fine.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, just be careful, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. I get on the plane. Everything is fine. We land, and I turn my phone on to text my friend to say, hey, I'm here. Mm-hmm. I just landed. So if you're going to, leave your apartment to come pick me up or whatever, right, just tell me where to go. Mm-hmm. I turned my phone on to 10,000 text messages, basically telling me I am stuck in Spain and cannot come home. And it was like, oh my, I was freaking out. So then I call my friend, and he goes, and I was like, are you ready for me to live with you for an unknown amount of time? I don't know what's going on here. And he was like, yeah, I was going to wait until you got in the car to say something. And I was like, what? It was like, all I did was get on an airplane. It was like a 6-hour flight. I was like, in 6 hours, what happened? And then I got so upset because finally I'm reading the articles, and I was like, if people could read before they send me things and send me into a frenzy, that would be great, because the thing on the bottom was like, except this doesn't apply to US citizens. So I was like, what the heck? Lo and behold, though, I still ended up getting stuck in Europe for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Because the girls ended up still coming from London. But as soon as their flight landed, the stewardess basically told them, like, you guys should try to get on the first flight home because they're about to lock everything down.
Wow.
But the amazing, amazing, amazing friends that they are, they were like, well, we have a friend that's at the hotel, so, and we're not going to leave her by herself. So they actually came to the hotel.
Okay.
And at first we were just gonna, one of the bridesmaids, one of the girls that was with us has a son, and the other one was the one that was getting married. So we were like, if we can at least get them on flights home, the rest of us we can figure out later.
Right.
But it ended up turning out great anyway. We all we stayed there for one night and made the best of it. We weren't allowed to leave the hotel, but to be fair, we were also staying at the W, so it's not like it was that miserable.
Yeah. You made do.
We didn't really suffer much. And so we stayed there for one night. We decorated, her hotel room, and we made it pretty, and we got dressed, and we had a nice dinner. And then we just went right back upstairs to our rooms and went to sleep. And then we were like, you know what? The next day we'll wear masks and we'll walk around outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that didn't happen because we woke up the next morning, had breakfast, and then there were police drones, like on the streets, basically saying like, go back inside.
Oh my gosh.
So luckily, and my flights home all got canceled for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah.
So I was like, great, I'm going to be stuck in Spain by myself and not know what to do and all of this stuff. And so finally I went to the airport with my friends because I was like, maybe I can just like get on a flight. I go to the airport. I end up getting a flight to London. I then had to call my boss and say, hey, listen, I'm stuck in Europe until the middle of April when my original ticket home is. And if they don't cancel that. And my boss was like, listen, do you have your computer? And I was like, yeah, I have my laptop. He was like, just work from home. Like,
oh my gosh.
Don't worry about it. Which is thankfully they're amazing. The company I work for is great. And so I worked from home, but it was craziness. The airport was a disaster.
Yeah.
We were all on there was 7 of us. We were all on different flights at different times. 2 of the girls almost missed their flight because by the time we got to the airport, it was so close.
Yeah.
And then the icing on the cake was that I ended up getting the last seat on the last flight to London.
Wow.
And 2 of the girls that were with me, they also were on the same flight. So it was great because the 3 of us were going to be together.
Yeah.
Now, the girls that were with me were the bride and her soon-to-be sister-in-law. So the 2 most important people in the wedding. Our flight is getting ready to board, and I walk over, and they're sitting with our luggage, and I walk over to the board to see what gate we're going to be at, and it says canceled. And I almost in that moment just flatlined.
Yeah.
And then I walked over to them and they were like, we don't believe you. And I was like, go look at it.
Yeah. Why would I make this up?
Why would I make this up? So we spent hours trying to figure it out until finally the terminal that we were in, we found out had another flight to London, and it so happened to be the same airline as ours.
Okay.
So while we saw people in line getting ready to board, we walked up to the desk and basically begged them to let us on. We walked up to the desk at the terminal and basically said, we are going to be stranded here. We looked at trains, we looked at buses. Her fiance was then he was like, if you guys can get to France, I'll drive to France and pick you up. He was gonna drive to France and pick us up. We were trying to find then ways to get to France. It was a mess for hours.
Oh my gosh. You're like, we will work on the plane.
You're literally we'll be stewardesses. Just let us get on the plane.
I'll pour waters. I'll throw snacks to people.
We don't even have to sit. Don't worry about it giving us seatbelts. We'll sit in the bathroom. Just let us on the plane.
Oh my gosh.
And I speak a little bit of Spanish, but not enough to like really, you know, tell them what our issue is. And I'm like, I have the bride with me. Like, I have to get her home. Her fiance's gonna kill me. And finally, this girl's saying, no, I can't. I'm sorry, it's full. Like, there's nothing to do. Meanwhile, the thing that was really upsetting was that they kept telling everybody these flights are full, but then when you boarded the flight, it was empty.
What?
Yeah, so a bunch of the girls had said, we actually had one of the girls, when we found out ours was canceled, we texted our group chat and we were like, guys, we don't know what to do. We're stuck here.
Right.
And we couldn't even go back to the hotel because the hotel was like, you checked out. We're not allowed to let you back in.
Oh my gosh.
So one of the girls was like, we just started boarding. There's a whole bunch of empty seats. Like, if you can get to our gate, like, see if they'll let you on.
Right.
And we got to the gate, they had already shut the doors. So it was so upsetting because they were telling, but the thing is, I think, you know, people were not telling them that they were not going to go in hopes that like it would get canceled and they would get their money back. But what that was in turn doing was leaving a bunch of people stranded on flights they could have gotten on.
Oh my gosh.
So we begged, the girl was like, no. All of a sudden it was like, you know, in movies when you see like the parting of the seas or something like that and there's like a light on somebody, this elevator that I didn't know was there all of a sudden opens behind her and some guy walks out of it and she goes, hold on, and she's talking to the guy and she's explaining the situation and then he comes to me and he gets my boarding pass and he's asking me questions and I'm looking at him and I'm like, oh my god, if you figure this out right now I will pull my eyes out. And sure enough, he figured it out and he got all three of us on the flight. And after like 14 hours and tears and a lost bag that we then ended up finding again.
Okay.
And our luggage being like missing, we finally made it back to London and I ended up staying there for a month with my friends and just like working East Coast hours and yeah.
I mean, like, obviously I know that, you know, it all worked out because I'm talking to you now and we have talked, you know, but I was just like, did you make it? What happened? Are you okay? Like, oh, what a roller coaster of emotions. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
I have like, I have a similar experience, but not even to the scale of yours. But
I want to hear it.
When I was leaving Turkey, we had this like whole group where like, you know, people would post in and people would be like, I'm meeting here at this time after work. If anyone, like, this is what I'm going to see if anyone wants to come, or like, oh, I was thinking of doing this on the weekend, you know, kind of thing. So because, you know, some people had phones that worked, some people didn't, you know, kind of thing. So we had this message board that we could all kind of interact with. And so I had talked with somebody about taking a ride to the airport together so we could split the cost, because it was an hour and a half, like where we were, you know, it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the airport. So, you know, that's expensive. That's far. So I can't sleep on planes. But I was like, okay, I'm going to stay up all night, because I was leaving the day after our last day. Like, our last day was Friday. We had our party and then I was leaving Saturday. And so I was like, I'm going to stay up all night. I'm going to just sleep on the airplane because I'll just be like pure exhausted. Like, you know, it'll be fine. So stupidly, I did not check the status of my flight before I left. So I get to the airport and they just say that it is delayed and they won't tell us, like, delayed / canceled, and they won't tell us when it's going to leave. And I was just like, what? And yeah. And like, I do not speak Turkish, you know, like, and I'm talking to this person at this airline who, like, you know, it's pretty good with English, but not everything. But I was like, I have no way of contacting my family. I have no way of contacting the people that I was with, like working with, like, I have no way. And I was just like, what do I do? And so finally this woman at the counter gives me like a phone. And so I call my parents and I was just like, hey, like, I don't know what to do. We're looking up flights for like other places. I was like talking to my parents for maybe like 10 minutes and the woman like taps me on the shoulder. It was like, you need to give me the phone back. And I was just like, excuse me, you have canceled my flight and you have not told me like why or when. And they never like sent an email or like tried to contact. Like I never got anything that was like, this is what has happened. So like they're like, oh, we're gonna give you hotel vouchers and like this kind of thing. But I was like, I don't care. Like I have to be at work on Monday. Like I also like I'm flying from Turkey to Canada for a connecting flight, and I was like this is not acceptable. Like I can't do this. I was looking at flights. It was like $2,000 to fly that day. Like yeah, they were able to get some people. What's up?
It gets expensive.
Yeah, last minute gets real expensive, and I was also like, this is your fault. Like what? Exactly. So I had like a similar, but not to the same scale, where I had checked out of like I had done everything of the campus that we were staying on. Like I'd given my room key, I'd given my meal like card, like everything. And I was like, I can stay in this hotel by myself for my last night, but I was like, I don't want to do that. So yeah, it was just like nuts. And so of course, like it ended up being delayed a day and a half. So, so we were supposed to leave at like 11 a.m. on Saturday and we left at like, 3 or 4 p.m. on Sunday kind of thing. So everything was just totally thrown off. Like I had to contact work and be like, I am maybe going to be there Tuesday. Like I truly have no idea. Yeah. It was pretty wild. But I just remember like sitting in the airport because I was like so exhausted and also like very emotional of leaving all these friends and this like incredible experience I had. So I'm just like crying, just like head down, just like by myself kind of thing. And yeah, it was wild. Yeah, and so
we cried so profusely when they gave us tickets. Like when the guy handed us tickets, said, okay, this is your seat. The three of us lost it. We were like, are you sure? This is actually happening.
Oh, yeah. Right? This feels too good to be true.
Lost it.
Yeah, when I came back to the airport and I went through security, I put my passport down and walked away. And so I almost left my passport. And so I had to go back to security, and I'm like checking because I'm like, okay, I'm at my gate. And I'm like, I have all my things. I'm like, I don't have my passport. I go back to security and I was like, do you have my passport, please? Like, I don't. And then, they're kind of like, oh, does somebody? And someone like, someone over there just like, oh, this. And I just wanted to hug the person. Like, thank you so much. Yeah, it was wild.
Oh, man. Oh, it's great.
It's once you get far enough away from these stories, they're funny.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah. But
in that moment, it did not feel so funny.
No, in that moment, but I also very much, I was like, I'm useless in a crisis because like, I can't do anything.
I felt like that. My dog is now awake and looking at me like, give me treats, Mom.
If she wants to make an appearance, we love seeing animals.
You want to say hi? Come here. She's like so big now. When I first got her, she was 5 pounds. She's almost 25 pounds.
How big is she gonna get?
They said she'll be like the average of a medium-sized dog, so around like 40 pounds.
Okay.
40, 45. Say hi.
Hello, little one.
Oh. Say hi. Oh, here it is.
No.
Here it is.
Hi, baby.
Treats.
She's like, I only want to give you kisses, Mom.
Yeah, she's a huge snuggle bug.
That's nice.
Cuddle. But she also likes having all of the space.
Yeah.
So she wants to be in charge all the time.
Well, she's a woman who knows what she wants. She's not afraid to take up room and space, and I respect that.
You know what? And that's kind of why I gave her the name that I gave her. So her name is Rhea. And I named her after the Titaness, Rhea, who is the mother of gods. So, and like Rhea's known as, there's a lot of different connotations to it, but the ones that I really liked were like, she's like known as Mother Earth, and every time there's any sort of portrayal of her, she's surrounded by lions, and stuff like that. And she's known as like also being Something that has to do with fertility. I don't really know. But I wanted her to embody like being able to like be independent and like a strong female thing, but also very go with the flow. Rhea is also known for being I think the literal like definition is like the meaning is like flow and ease.
Okay.
And I wanted her to be that way, and she definitely is.
Look at that.
We had 20 people in my house on Saturday, and she literally like she was super excited. She gets very overexcited and stimulated in the beginning. And then at one point I was like, guys, where's my dog? And they're like, oh, she's sleeping. Party going on, and she literally just went and laid in her bed in the corner and went to sleep.
Well,
I was like, well, you know.
She lives up to her name. Well, this actually kind of segues nicely into my next segment, or my segment, I don't know, called Pass the Cheese, where I compliment the guest, because kind of the way that you describe your dog is kind of the way I feel about you. Like, you're very strong and you're very like fierce and very passionate, but you're also very easygoing, and like you love very fiercely. And that's something, you know, as one of your friends, I get the benefits of that. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. I feel that way about you.
Oh, thanks.
A fierce badass. I say that.
Thank you. I try.
You know?
I'd say like after everything we went through in Turkey, like you have to be a little bit fierce to survive that.
People would think also like we worked with children. Like we didn't, you know, but to work in the way that we did, in the environment that we did, in the place that we did, surrounded by the people that we were with, you kind of have to be able to, you know, hold your own. Otherwise, you were getting eaten alive.
Yeah. And I think
kids, not the people that we worked with, from the kids.
Yeah. Well, I also like so Megan is a friend of mine in Minnesota who we both met when we were over there, and Megan is one of the reasons, or like was kind of one of the reasons that like I moved to Minnesota from California. But like sometimes we'll talk about just like the group, like we kind of had like a moving group of like 20 to 30 people, like kind of at all times. And, you know, I think that it actually worked out really well because we had enough people that we were all balanced in some sort of way. Like, and if somebody was like acting too like ridiculous in one way, someone would be like, hey, like we don't do that here.
We're going to need you to a little bit.
Yeah.
We definitely just had that.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that we got very lucky, you know, and you went back the second summer, but I heard that it was maybe not quite as lucky.
No, it wasn't. For me, okay, I should rephrase that. For me, it was, but that's because of the connections that I made and the relationships that I got with people out of that second summer. I would say that it definitely wasn't as much fun as we had when we went. Because we did a lot more exploring together and going out and doing a lot of that, and there wasn't much of that, but I think that was the dynamic of the people that were there.
Yeah.
And it reflected that. So while it definitely wasn't the same, and I definitely would say the first summer was tenfold better, I still, for me personally, got a lot out of it. And just take the bag. I wouldn't go back and like not do it.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's kind of what you make of it. Yeah. And I think that we had enough like adventurous spirits, and we also had enough people that like, you know, 5 people would be like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. You can come. And someone would be like, I don't want to do that. And, you know, 7 people over here would be like, we're going to do this. And you'd be like, oh, okay, I want to do that. And other people over here would be doing something different. And we also got really lucky because like you and several other people are Turkish and speak Turkish. And so that was really helpful. But then we had people who had either studied abroad there or had lived there or had visited or something. And so they knew a lot of places. And so, yeah, it was great, you know, to just be like, after work, you're like, where are we going today? And someone's like, oh, we're going here. I'm like, great.
Yeah, it was, I think back on it sometimes and like I talk about it and share my experience, and like, you know, some of the things that we did, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely an like early 20s thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now in my late 20s, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have done that.
Well, as somebody who's 30, just like the thought of staying out in a club until 4 a.m. just exhausts me. But we did.
And we would do that on a weekday when we like needed to be up for work the next day. And we worked, I cannot stress enough that we worked with children.
Not 4 a.m., but yes, we would go out and then come back very late. Yeah. I think that I see pictures of myself from that summer and I have like deep bags under all of my eyes, but I'm like ridiculously, deliriously happy.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly right. Oh man, it's wonderful.
It was great. Well, we're kind of about that time. So is there anything that you want to promote, anything you want to bring awareness to, anything you want to bring attention to, you know, kind of up to you.
Man, I don't know. Well, I don't really have anything that I do that I would like promote.
Okay.
And my job, unless somebody runs an e-commerce brand and they want their site built or maintained, then you can definitely let me know. And I will, you know, definitely do that. But I think that in terms of, I guess, sharing a message of some sort, it would just be to like things are so shitty right now in the world. Like, just be a kind human.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, please just try to be nice.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard. It actually takes more effort and it's more difficult to be an asshole. So like,
I totally agree, you know, and you know, every feeling that you have of anger, of scared, of depression, of anxiety, the person next to you has that too. You know, like you're not going through this alone. And yes, you don't have to tell the person that you're standing next to at the bus stop, like, hey, I'm really depressed and anxious and constantly filled with rage, but just know you're not alone and we all are going through this collective trauma together. So if that comforts you in any way, please take that. But, you know, also like you're having a hard time, but so is everyone around you. So, you know.
And like, you never know how much just that little bit of just like smiling at someone that's walking down the street or just the tiniest little thing can totally turn around someone else's day, and you have no idea how big of an impact you actually like your presence makes on the world.
Yeah. I mean, like I have been lucky in the regard that at this time COVID is still far enough away from, you know, my friends and my family around me. Like I do know people who have had it. So far nobody has had any, there's no easy way to say this, but so far nobody has died, which I feel very grateful for. But that is not the case for a lot of people. You know, we've had over 225,000 deaths at this time, and a lot of people did not get to say goodbye to their loved ones because of like the safety measures that are in place. So, you know, so that's just kind of something that I like remind myself of, like, you know, I like when I'm talking to my family via a video call, I'm not saying goodbye to them for the last time. And so that is, you know, that is a small victory. And sometimes that's kind of what you have to take.
That's it.
Yeah. That was kind of a bummer to end on, but you know, whatever. This is kind of what's happening, you know, it can be both.
Break the rules here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Etta. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah.